Every morning, without fail, a single white rose appeared on my doorstep, but the man who once gave them to me had died 5 years ago. He used to bring me flowers when we were young, always the same, a single white rose, no card. No note, just the quiet rustle of his coat as he stood in the doorway, his eyes always looking like he knew I wouldn't stay long. And maybe that's why he held me like porcelain and loved me like a goodbye. And when he died in that accident 5 years ago, on a rainy road in Devon with a crushed bonnet and the radio still playing our song, something in me never came. Back from the funeral, not the part that laughed, not the part that trusted clocks, not the part that believed mornings were real anymore. And for 5 years, I lived like a ghost in the same cottage we used to rent, painting the same canvas over. And over a field, a sky, a silhouette I couldn't finish, until one morning, I opened the door and found a white rose lying on the welcome mat, perfectly fresh, its stem wrapped in a ribbon the color of his old scarf, and I stared at it for so long I forgot to breathe, then laughed, telling myself it must be the florist Madiha hired for the anniversary vigil she held every year, until the next morning came, and another rose appeared, then the next, and no one ever saw who left them. No camera caught a figure, no neighbor heard footsteps, just the creak of wood in the early dawn, and a bloom that felt like memory made real. And by the sixth day, I couldn't sleep, heart pounding every time the clock struck 5 a.m., and that's when I started hearing the knocks, 3 gentle taps, always just before the flower arrived, soft like they didn't want to wake the house. And when I opened the door once fast enough to catch someone, no one was there, only mist. Curling down the lane in the rose, resting like a heartbeat at my feet, and I told myself I was imagining it, that grief does strange things, but deep down, I knew that silence too well. It was his silence, the kind that always came before I love you and after please. Don't go. And that week, I did something I hadn't done since the accident. I spoke to him, out loud, alone in the living room lit by candlelight, saying, "If it's you, please, I need to know." And that night, I dreamed of him standing in the doorway again, older, bruised, still wearing the jacket they buried him in, but his eyes looked alive, and he said only 3 words, "Finish the painting." And I woke up sobbing with paint under my fingernails and a rose in my hand, even though I hadn't touched a brush in weeks. And when I ran to the studio, the canvas I'd left untouched for years was different. The silhouette was finished. A figure holding a rose facing me, and I screamed, dropped the frame, and fled the house for days, stayed with Madiha, told her everything. But she just squeezed my hand and whispered, "Maybe he's just keeping a promise." And suddenly, it didn't feel terrifying anymore. It felt like the most tragic form of loyalty, a love that refused to stay dead. So I went back, and every day I thanked him, even when the world told me to move on, because how do you move on from something that still knocks at your door? And then exactly 40 days after the first rose, I woke up and there was nothing. No flower, no knock, no dream, just a silence so final it made the birds sound like strangers. And for the first time since his death, I felt cold, really. Cold, like he was gone, properly gone, and I wept in the hallway until my breath shook the windows. Until something in the floorboards creaked behind me, and I turned to see, not him, not a ghost, but a small package wrapped in linen with a handwritten note on top, for her when she's ready, and inside it was his journal, full of sketches of me, dates, places, and a pressed white rose between 2 pages, the last he ever gave me, and next to it, a legal deed transferring the cottage in my name. Dated a week before his accident, unsigned, but smudged, like someone tried to sign it after the fact, and I didn't need proof, because love doesn't need proof, it just needs belief. And I believed him, believe that some souls don't rest because love still lingers. And maybe he stayed to see me breathe again, to hear me laugh one more time. And when I finally finished the painting, framed it and hung it in the hall, the door creaked one last time at sunrise, and this time I didn't check for a flower. I just whispered, "Thank you," and watched the mist lift from the lane like a veil removed. Because when someone loves you that deeply, death doesn't stop them, it just delays them. And some flowers are meant to bloom after the funeral,